Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about mortgages and what I know about it and why I'm a really good person to talk to you about it. So, my name is Manda and I combine mortgages with financial coaching, which is what I always say. But what does that actually mean? So, let's pull back the curtain. Right, so the very first thing I would like to say is I myself bought when I was 22. And the reason I bought when I was 22, because I remember my dad saying to me, don't pay someone else's mortgage. Now, what I mean by that is everybody out there who is renting, and I'm not criticizing people that are renting, I'm just saying that if you are renting, the rent that you give to the landlord, he uses it to pay his mortgage. So he doesn't have to find his money to pay his mortgage. You give him the money to pay his mortgage. Now, at the end of the day, I bought, as I said, when I was 22. After a few years of living in the property, I decided that I wanted a bigger property. And the other reasons why I moved was my first property was in a block of flats. It was 4 stories high, and I was on the ground floor. Now the rooms were spacious and it was a nice enough property, but the thing is, it was on, because it was a block, it was on grounds. Now on those grounds, the grass needed to be cut on a regular basis, the lift needed to be maintained, the stairs needed to be cleaned in the communal area, the roof needed to be looked after. So when it came to service charge and ground rent, so ground rent is because I owned a leasehold property, which means I didn't own the land that it was on. So I had to pay service charge and ground rent every single month or quarter. It can vary. But that, as the property got older, got more expensive. So when I bought my next property, I decided that I was going to buy a maisonette. Now, the difference between a flat and a maisonette is a maisonette is half a house. So the chances are ground rent, there isn't any, it's minuscule. And service charge, for me personally, it was literally just the building insurance. So when you own a maisonette, either you're on the top floor or the bottom floor, but you normally get them insured together, because obviously there's no point in having insurance for the top if the bottom isn't insured, because that doesn't actually help you, and vice versa. So you have something called block insurance, and then that is divided amongst who owns the property. So it's 50-50, right? So it's a lot less than it was in my previous flat. Now, when you're looking at property, you really need to decide what you are looking at. For me, I wanted somewhere that was close to a tube station because of where I used to work at the time. I wanted it close to utilities. Back then, I did have a car, but I didn't really like driving, so I wanted to be able to walk to the supermarket if I needed to and things like that. I didn't need to be anywhere near a school because I didn't have children. In fact, I was single. But what I did decide to do, because that first flat did have two spacious rooms, I thought it'd be great to rent that property out. So that's what I did. And I bought the maisonette thinking, okay, the expenses will be less. Then, after a few years, when I met my other half and I decided that we wanted to get a house together, I didn't want to get rid of my properties even then. I thought it'd be nice to be independent and own my own properties. So that's what I did. So I rented out 2 properties at that point, and then actually, because the value of those properties had increased, because normally on average over 10 years properties do double in price, so they're always, in my opinion, have been a good investment. So then what I did was I actually remortgaged them both, got some money out of them, and used that money to go in halves on the house that I now own. So from that, this whole time I was an accountant. I'm a chartered accountant, ACCA, and I enjoyed doing accountancy, don't get me wrong. But then when I was made redundant, I kind of realised that I wanted to do something different. So I combined my love of finance with my love of or interest in property, and that's how I became a mortgage advisor. But 6 months into that, there were a lot of first time buyers coming up to me and they were asking me a lot of questions about how mortgages work and everything. And it kind of reminded me of when I'd bought first bought my property, I was just so relieved to get the mortgage that I didn't bother to ask any questions. And the person who was my mortgage advisor seemed very stuffy in a suit, really wasn't my cup of tea. So I didn't actually ask a lot of questions. I didn't feel comfortable. So when I became a mortgage advisor, one of the things I really wanted to do was help first time buyers, help people doing right to buy, give people financial education as well as just the mortgage so they can make informed decisions. So that's what I decided to do. So that's where the financial coach was created. I went on a course, learned about financial coaching, which is a combination of sort of money mindset, money beliefs, getting really good money habits, as well as getting an understanding of how you can make money from property. So that is me in a nutshell, and that is my background. And as I said, I'm really, really passionate about helping people understand how money works and how and why money really does matter. So that is why my channel is called Mortgages and Money Matters, because one, I've got the mortgage experience, and two, I really believe money does matter. And at the end of the day, no matter what age you are, it's always a good investment. I had a client the other day and he's 55. He lives in a big house. His kids have just going to uni. So he was thinking of selling his house, but we talked about it and he's actually going to rent his house and use the money to pay his mortgage, excuse me, on his flat. So he's actually bought a one bed flat because that's all he needs. He's renting out his house, and because he only needs to get a mortgage to pay off a small amount left on his house and the flat, he can buy the flat outright, doesn't need to have a mortgage on that. And excuse me, and that is what he's done. So I look forward to sort of hearing from you guys and talking about it. Take care. Bye bye.